Start with your introduction. Tell me a little bit about your journey. Like, I know that you are the CEO of this company, but tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So actually, I started out in engineering. I thought I was going to be an astronaut. My first major was mechanical
Wow.
and aerospace engineering. It was a double major. That's how I ended up in the Chicagoland area. I had a full
Nice.
at IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology. Long story, I thought I was missing something, so I decided to go to interior design school. So I went to Harrington, and got my degree in that. And
Mhm.
actually, while I was in school, I started working for Drury Design as a receptionist part-time my second semester.
Wow.
Yes. So I was here that long ago, and worked my way through, interned here, was an assistant designer, senior designer. And in 2012, I started my own firm. And in 2021, my firm bought Drury Design.
Oh, wow.
So it's a doing business as, because it's pretty well known as far as its reputation in the name. So that made sense.
Hmm.
And yes, it's been a little over 3 years that I was at the helm.
Wow. So that's an
Yeah.
incredible story. You started as a receptionist, and
Yes.
then you ended up purchasing the company that
Yes.
you were a receptionist of, and you are now that's an inspiring story. Yeah,
Thank you. And I would say maybe 5 years, 4 years before the purchase, I ran into the founder, Neil Drury, and I made a joke about how vendors are kind of really pushing me to sell their product. I need a showroom. And she
Mm,
laughed and said, well, if you can wait 5 years, you can have ours. That's kind of how the conversations started,
nice.
on how this could work and, what are the timelines and the transition.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. So talk a little bit about the industry trends you are seeing in your space, design stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that it feels that the rules are more open. And when I mean by that, design rules, there's always a preference for color, for elements in any given time. I feel that what's happening today is we're embracing the personal touch. And having said that, we are seeing a lot bolder colors, moodier colors. I think it's always a rebellion from the recent past. I think it's a rebellion to the cool grays and whites of 20 years, 10
Hmm.
years.
Hmm.
The technology certainly continues to develop, exponentially as far as the speed. So smart homes, what appliances can do, what you can control on your phone,
Hmm.
with integration of, security, convenience, and being able to cook healthier, right? As
Hmm.
far as a healthier lifestyle, steam ovens our last 10, 15 years have just taken off because of what you can do with them. You could heat food and it tastes like it's brand new, right? So that's the space we're living in, and I am enjoying, watching the technology catch up and sometimes surpass the needs
Hmm.
of the client, and that we have the ability and the tools to meet and solve their set issues. I think that is probably speaking to how busy most people's lives are.
Yeah, yeah. So you talked about two things. One is trends in the design and one is trends in technology. So are you just designing or are you also in the smart tech space?
Sure. So we are designing, we are procuring products, and we are installing.
Got it.
So if a client came to us and said, I'm building a home,
Mhm.
we'll put the team together and
Mhm.
work with the experts in that field to give
Nice.
us advice. But it's important to have some general knowledge in order to be able to guide our clients. And then all of a sudden, also knowing where your expertise ends, and you have to say, look, I need to bring in, these partners because they're definitely specialists in this area and we need their input to
Got it.
do it well.
Got it. So you're basically looking at the aesthetics that is needed. You design that and then you see, okay, functionality wise, what is the smart home tech and you recommend those things.
Yeah,
Got it.
it's hard to help our clients if we're not aware
Yeah.
of what's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense. Talk little bit about what are the challenges that you're facing right now, right? What is working for you right now and what is frustrating?
So, there's challenges within the firm, I think. that's internal, and there's also challenges probably with the interactions, right, with clients and what are we doing. So I'll address both of those. I think internally, what we're solving for is taking our standard operating procedures and making them very clear. This company was founded and established very well with very good procedures.
Okay.
Over time, memos happen, things change, and all of a sudden you have 20, 30 years of people kind of different knowledge base. Well, this is how we do it. We need to take the time and clarify what it is that we're looking for in our expectations. And then you can hold people accountable. So I'm excited that we've identified it and it is important enough as, evidence today or looking for how do you calculate freight charges, right? And this is tile and it's for a new construction. So the quantity is quite a bit, thousands of square foot. So there's incoming freight charges. Somebody says, well, did you calculate about redelivery? Because we get it to our warehouse, but are you going to white glove it? And is it to the garage? Is it to the every room? And I said, well, we have a formula in our job cost sheet and we followed this based on this. And they're like, well, how do you know that's correct? And I'm thinking, well, that's a really good question. And there were some frustrations because the one asking the questions knew all the rules and then the rest of us didn't. So I had to go back and say, here's what we're doing about it. Let's not punish people for not doing what they don't know. Let's educate them. So I think that's a theme through the company and we're getting better. I would say that's some of the challenges internally. Externally, I would say our branding, which is known for kitchens and baths and doing it very well. We don't want to lose that, but communicating that we do more, that's a challenge of how to do it without hurting the brand and without confusing the consumer that, wait, are you kitchen and bath or are you doing interiors now or what are you? I kind of look at that as it's a challenge, but
Got it. Got it. Talk a little bit more about the internal issues. You said that you might want to give them different tools so that the communication and the SOPs, because operations is tricky. It cannot be completely mechanized and it's very hard to change anything once people are used to something. I have some experience in that area. I was in Netflix and those DVDs, I was automating that. And so I know that every time we changed an operation, even a small step change was a huge deal. We would really think through and optimize it a lot. So talk a little bit more about that and what kind of tools are you envisaging for this?
a lot starts with the leadership. So as difficult as it is, it's kind of looking at myself in the mirror and saying, okay, where is it my responsibility? Where is it where I can change and where I can understand and know that each person's going to be different. We respond in different ways and to communicate in a way that they can hear. So I love the Enneagram. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's 9 different personality types. It actually analyzes how we behave. We have somebody who's a perfectionist. Their first response is to go, well, wait a minute, I don't like that. And I have to remember that they're not against me. 99% of the time, perfectionists are great because they work so hard to be perfect that they're amazing at operations until it's not. And that goes for every number. So I think understanding how people respond, operate is big to us because then we can say, okay, also understanding their strengths. You can take somebody's and take any skill set. I think it's much more effective to utilize 90% towards their strengths and they're happier usually because they're going to do well. I think that's the approach I have, learning about just really having difficult conversations. I'm a people pleaser, so as a leader, I had to really almost just practice to get used to it. We have systems in place to contract and expand someone's capacity. We see results, but as a CEO, 90% is still hire the right person for their attitude. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I have a similar philosophy. I look for, even when I'm looking for partners, my basic concern is things like integrity, being true to what you say, you do it, those kind of things are more important than the skill sets because a smart person can learn the skills, but it's the other stuff that is hard to change because that's inbuilt. What kind of technologies are you using apart from your design software operations, for marketing and sales? Are you using any tools or are you depending mainly on word of mouth?
So it's interesting how much internally we've been able to accomplish with Microsoft Excel, right? And we are actually in the middle of investigating different project management software and tools. For marketing, definitely not just word of mouth, but it is heavily referral based still, what we're
Okay.
finding. Just because everyone goes on the website, it appears like a majority is a web lead, right? But we ask our
Mhm.
designers, well, when you get to know the client, dig deeper because we need to know where these people are coming from. Are they truly web or is their neighbor? We still have, Google Analytics, although we know that's changing. So we're trying to look for the next step. We have a really good marketing specialist that's involved in these type of learning tools. Like he attends South by Southwest. We do take our entire team to what we call the Global Leadership Summit. We do close the showroom at this point. It's that important. And we fly in our remote people. So it's a chance for us to also be together as a whole organization. And, just we host a summer barbecue on that Saturday and just kind of, have a little bit of time to be relaxed. Marketing, we do the ads like everybody else. There's always print ads, magazines, and things like
Magazines, right?
that. We're relying less on that to bring in actual business. I think it's more of establishing your credibility as a company, but
Mhm.
it's the networking, and those are long-term plays and investment in the community in business. So just because you attended this event doesn't mean that 3 months later you'll get a job from it. It might be years later.
Mhm.
And that's what I've found being on my own and just, volunteering through an organization for the sake of volunteering. But through that, people get to know you.
To grow, let's say that in the next 6 to 12 months, do you have any plans for growing? How much? What do you think is going to get you the most bang for buck? And when you mentioned ads, you mentioned magazines, but I'm assuming you are doing other kinds of ads, like
Yeah.
internet ads. Are you doing
It's
that?
more the web.
Okay.
It's online, making sure that our blog post, is current and that we're establishing ourselves as a respectable, knowledgeable company for what we're talking about, what the content we're putting out there. There's always social media, of course, but I don't know that we can say, oh, it's because of this post or it's because of Instagram that we got this job. It's harder to trace
Mm.
than that, and that's always been the challenge of any marketing firm, right? But so things like I believe it's Lux Magazine that started this after the recession in 08, 09. They said, let's make sure all of our clients all know each other and that there's synergy there and they're all meeting together and maybe there's something. So they started hosting events for that very purpose. So if you're in that magazine advertising, you know that if you're invited, that's part of the game and everybody is involved and wanting to have that. So you could pick up the phone and call your representative and say, I really like to be introduced to this particular professional. Let's have coffee. And
Got
they'll
it.
do it. So there's that type of interaction and reach. But scalability, that's online.
So let's say that I am one of your potential clients, right? So I'm looking for an interior designer. The way I'm imagining this will happen is that I consume like maybe Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right? But I'll probably go on Google and search. So you want to find people when they need you, right? That the timing is important. If somebody mentioned you and 5 years later I have to do an interior
Mhm.
design, it may not be. So how do you solve that problem, or are you doing any ads at all, any marketing in that sense, or is it mostly branding, word of mouth, blog post?
Mhm. We
I
spend quite a bit with Google Analytics.
got it, got
Yeah,
it.
not directly Google Analytics, but we pay a firm to that manages that and has a lot of information to be able to see what levers are being pulled. Search words are you investing in?
Got
So we're trying to figure out what is the next step for us. Some of the things we've identified is like YouTube and TikTok. Also, our video, we're trying to do more short videos to be found in those spaces that the newer generation is not necessarily going to Google as their first search engine. I
it.
do, but I'm Gen X.
I don't know whether you guys have at all thought of AI, because that's what I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
My background is in tech. I was, like I mentioned, Netflix. I was there. So have you thought of how AI is going to change your world? And
It is in the discussions, not just for marketing, but certainly all the tools. I mean, beyond ChatGPT, right? I went to a conference about a year ago, and it was interesting to hear of a firm that It's totally using AI. Basically, the customer takes the measurements, they put it up there. So, and then for X amount of dollars, very, very little compared to, we're going to get you a design in 3 days or something like that. And we're like, what? And then I thought about that and I feel, well, let's not panic. What's not being done here? What is the difference? What are things, as far as marketing is concerned, that's been kind of an interesting journey because, like I said, the last couple of years, we just know that it's changing from SEO to that. That's where our marketing specialist is involved,
Working on.
trying to see where the next steps is for us. But for the moment, we're still in the SEO world, I think the majority of the time.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
But yeah, I'd love to. I'm very curious about where it's headed.
Absolutely. So, hey, Gladys, I know that we are reaching the end of our time. So, I want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I really love talking to you. You can come across as a very generous and self-aware person
Oh,
who is looking at herself as well as who cares about her employees. It shows in the way you talk. So,
oh,
and I think
thank
your
you.
website
I
and
hope
your
they
designs
feel
are
the same
phenomenal.
way.
Thank you.
Good
Take care.
weekend.